Good afternoon, everyone. John Hayes with Golden Oak Carpentry here. So I'm going to go over today about how I build and assemble my face frame for cabinets. So basically, it's all made out of solid wood, and a face frame is actually this front piece of wood. It's kind of like the display piece on the front of your cabinets. And so you'll see it right along here, right along here. And so basically what I'm building right now is just a picture frame to go in front of the cabinets, and then we can build the boxes from there. So the way that I do this is I always use pocket hole screws. So these pocket hole screws go into this little hole right here, and then they come in through the other side, and then they attach onto this next piece of wood. And we're also reinforcing it with a little bit of glue. And so that glue is just going to give it a little bit of extra support. Most cabinet makers, they probably won't even use glue, but every time that I try to make a cabinet or a piece of furniture, I try to go the extra distance and make sure that everything is secured the best that it can be, so because all of my cabinets and furniture have a lifetime warranty on them. So it benefits me to be a little bit more over prepared than under prepared. So after I get done putting this face frame together, I'll go over a few more details with you. Okay, so I'm all done now, and so I was using those 1.5" Kreg jig screws like I probably mentioned earlier versus these 1.25" Kreg jig screws. And the reason why we use 1.5" is because we can actually give it just a little bit more depth. So that's about 1.5". That's about 1.25". So you can see that there is a really significant difference on the length. And like I said, basically these screws help hold the face frame together. There's a little bit more glue putting it together as reinforcement, but that is pretty much all the strength that you'll need. So one thing that no one else does is they make sure that their depth on these grooves. Basically what I did was I took my dado set and I made these grooves, which are then going to go into these 3/4 inch plywood sides, and they're just going to fit in just like that. Glue it together and put more pocket hole screws alongside it. But so whenever I try to adjust for my depth of the dado set, I actually use this handy little tool called a caliper. And what that does is it will measure everything out to the precision of 1/2 of a thousandth of an inch. So to show you how accurate this thing is, you see how much I moved that? That moved that almost 15.5 thousandths of an inch. And in order to adjust it about 1/2 of a thousandth of an inch is next to impossible, especially whenever you're holding your camera at the same time. But so I try to make sure that my measurements are accurate down to a 1/64 of an inch. So let me show you what a 1/64 of an inch is real quick. Okay, so you see this big long line right here. then you see this the smallest line right here. The distance in between that small little line and the next biggest line is 1/16 of an inch. If you were to divide that distance by half, and then you divided that distance by half, that's 1/64 of an inch. So no one I know tries to be that precise, but whenever I'm building these things, it shows a little bit of technique and skill to be able to get things down to that accurate of a depth. And just to prove it to you, so I'm going to go ahead and measure this real quick, which I have already zeroed out. Okay, so this is at, I zeroed this out earlier, so it should be at 0. So I'm trying to get it over to 0.25. So we are at 0.252. So that is actually within machining tolerance. Machine tolerance is usually about 10 thousandths of an inch.